The prevalence of environmental pollution began with the birth of the Industrial Revolution and has not slowed down since then. As populations continue to grow, so too has environmental pollution. This has created a serious global problem that continues to affect biodiversity, ecosystems, and human health worldwide. While pollution can take several forms, the three major types are air, land and water pollution. According to the Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Mr. Henry Kokofu, humans contribute to each of these every day.
The environmental pollution has three main pillars. The water bodies, the land and the atmosphere. So whichever way you find it yourself, you come down to water because you need the water cycle to be efficient enough so we can continuously enjoy life on Earth. We have a huge challenge on that sector, and most of the activities has to do with human attitudes. We have got to change. People do not appreciate the importance of running water, surface water. And they think it's as good as even a rubbish dump or refuse dump, which is very unfortunate. We all do know that water is life, and protecting the sanctity of water is for our own very existence. So it's good and important we bring in all these things to fore and for the public to know, create the necessary awareness and the education.
In Ghana, wastewater management in industrial enclaves like the Tema Metropolitan Assembly and other areas that are important to make the environment safe for all citizens are being invested in by the government. When asked about the current state of Ghana's water bodies and the environment in general, this is what Mr. Kukufu had to say.
The source point of water supply, particularly our riverine, is under siege, and the impact on their sustenance is quite very interesting. So we're going to explore all avenues. We also have this socioeconomic problem of galamsey or illegal mining in water bodies. The government is fighting it, society is fighting it, but the war is not over yet. It is incumbent on all of us to ensure that mining in the water bodies are stopped. And at Environmental Protection Agency, we will soon going to embark on the landscape restoration project, which have in mind also restoring degraded water bodies. And at that point, we will entreat all to observe all environmental regulations and laws in order not to find themselves at the wrong side of the law.
This year's Earth Day is tagged Invest in Our Planet. Everyone is therefore expected to act boldly, innovate and implement equitably for a green future and a prosperous future.
have a sort of extended responsibility, or whoever provided that plastic need to deal with it one way or the other. And that's why we need a global agreement. In some countries in the developed world, so-called, they have where the producer of the bottle of the whatever you drank has to take it back and give you money for it. So that means that this thing now has value, because I go to a machine in my country, I collect everything and I have to go to this machine and it spits out money at the end, which means that everybody is collecting this because it's ready cash. So there are ways that you can get that, but it needs the entire industry to have it on board, and it needs government regulations, but it needs a global agreement.
Plastic pollution is a global problem. Approximately 7 billion of the 9.2 billion tons of plastic produced from 1950 to 2020 became plastic waste, ending up in landfills or dumped. The Ending Plastic Pollution campaign draws attention to the harmful effects of plastic in our environment, harming marine and human health, littering beaches and landscapes, clogging waste streams and landfills, and also empowers people to make a difference. It also elevates the issue of plastic pollution in the global agenda and demands effective action to reduce and control it. The Executive Director of the UN Environmental Programme, UNEP, N.J. Anderson, said that UNEP's body of work demonstrates that the problem of plastic pollution does not exist in a vacuum. She further noted that the environmental, social, economic and health risks of plastics need to be assessed alongside other environmental stresses like climate change, ecosystem degradation and resource use.
When you have it in the oceans, it's not the fish that you're fishing, it's plastic. And plastic breaks down into ever smaller pieces, in the end ending up as nanoplastics, which are impossible to see to the eye. They are one very, very micromillimeter, 1/10,000th of a millimeter, that's nano, and the microplastic is about 0.5 millimeter. This plastic is eaten by plankton. And who eats plankton? Fish. And who eats fish? You and me. And understand that plastic is not just one material. You have literally 10,000 chemicals in many plastic elements. So it is the chemicals that we are absorbing. And it's in our drinking water because it dissipates in the soil. And today there are 34 countries in Africa that have a single-use plastic ban. Africa has shown that it's possible. So let the rest of the world learn from Africa, and let us then deal with the other elements of plastic now, but together as a global community.
Data from UNEP shows that every minute, the equivalent of one garbage truck of plastic is dumped into the ocean.
Every year we produce about 400 million tons. We waste 300 million of that, just out there in the environment. We incinerate about 14%, burn it, which is causing CO2, so not a good thing. This is not a proposition that can continue. We are literally drowning in our own waste. Literally, fish are drowning in it. So the world now understands this problem. Taking plastic out of the environment is made from oil, as you know. Putting it into the economy, that's a fine thing. But then we were done with it, we just throw it back into the environment. We need it to stay in the economy, in a circular economy. And that will take a global decision to ensure that we reuse and reuse and reuse the plastic that is in the economy.
by 2050, it is estimated there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean if an urgent and collective action is not taken. Ghana generates approximately 1.1 million tons of plastic waste per year, and approximately 5% of that is collected for recycling. For GBC News, Referi Wadako reporting.